I'm very pleased to say that joining us now for the interview is Tad Devine. He's a senior advisor for the Bernie Sanders for President campaign. Mr. Devine, it's really, really nice to have you on the show. You've never been my guest here with me one-on-one at 9 o'clock. I really appreciate you being here.
It's great to be with you, Rachel.
So last night, it felt going into New York that you guys thought you were going to do better than you did. I know that anticipation and expectations, it's a little bit spin, it's a little bit science. Did you do less well than you thought you would last night?
We did. I thought we were going to do better. I thought we were going to get into the mid-40s, you know, maybe 46 or so. So yes, we fell short, and we won fewer delegates than I thought we would too. And we're in a race for delegates right now. So that was a setback. After
that loss, there's been a lot of discussion in Democratic politics, both observers and people who are partisans of either one of the candidate, about whether or not Senator Sanders still really has a realistic shot at winning the Democratic nomination. I know that your campaign believes that you do. Do you believe you've got a realistic shot at winning the nomination ahead of the convention, or is your only path one that flips superdelegates once the convention starts?
Well, I think we can win the nomination before the convention. I think the party can coalesce around Bernie Sanders. But, you know, it's going to be, it's going to be a difficult task. I mean, to do that, Rachel, I think we're going to have to win most of the events between now and the end, and most of the delegates. Right now, in our count, we're about 236 delegates behind. Pledged delegates behind Hillary Clinton in the delegate count. So we're going to have to make up that difference between now and the end of voting in the middle of June. I think we can do that. We can do it through a combination of victories in a number of states, and also by continuing to win delegates in the caucus process. And we've done very well in caucus states. And, you know, the living delegate calendar of the caucus states is as backloaded as the delegate allocation calendar of the primaries is front-loaded. It gives us an opportunity in tier to tier in the caucus process to pick up more delegates. We've been doing it in places like Colorado, Nevada, and elsewhere, and I think we'll do it in all those states where we've done well before.
So to be clear, in terms of that delegate process that you're describing there, you're saying that we should sort of expect to see a little bit from you guys what we've seen from Ted Cruz on the Republican side, that even in states where Hillary Clinton may have done better in what we all think of as the contest in that state, when it comes to picking delegates there, you're thinking you're going to get more delegates out of those states than she will.
Yeah, I think we're proving that. And I'll use Nevada as an example. At the first stage of the caucus process in Nevada, when they counted up the results, Hillary Clinton had 20 delegates, national delegate equivalencies, and Bernie Sanders had 15. When we had the county conventions, we had an enormous turnout at the county conventions. And now our delegate count is Bernie Sanders, 19, Hillary Clinton, 16. So we turned, and that's a really good amount of progress. And I think when we get to the state convention in Nevada, we'll pick up some more. So that process is going to repeat itself from tier to tier in the caucus process, and I think we'll pick up a lot of delegates along the way.
Is there a point of friction between the case that Senator Sanders has made for people power, basically, for this not being decided by the establishment, for the Democratic Party insiders not doing this and it being the will of the voters, and this shouldn't be something that gets decided in back rooms, it gets decided in public? Is there a point of friction between that strategy that you're describing state by state, also the superdelegate strategy that you guys have talked about for the convention, and the way he's talked about how he wants to win?
I don't think there is. I mean, these are the rules. Unlike the Republicans, Trump in particular, you know, we're not going around saying, you know, everything's rigged and running against the rules. The rules are as they are. We may not, you know, like the way the rules are set up in some places, but we've agreed to play by them. So, you know, we'll work hard under the rules of caucus states. We'll work hard in other places. The superdelegates are there. We're going to work hard to earn their support. I think we'll be able to do that if we succeed. Listen, the key test is succeeding with voters. In 2008, I wrote a piece that they published in the New York Times right after Super Tuesday, and I argued that superdelegates should wait, should look and listen to what the voters do and follow the will of the voters. And I can tell you, I got a lot of pushback from the Clinton campaign at the time, you know, when I published that piece. But I believe that today, that our superdelegates, that our party leaders should let the voters speak first. And I think if they do that all the way through the end of the voting, that will strengthen our party and certainly strengthen our hand if we succeed with voters between now and June.
To that point, directly to that point, if at the end of the nominating contest, the last one is the Democratic contest in Washington, D.C., which I think is June 14th.
Yes.
I have to check my tattoo, which I've now put on the inside of my hand. If at that point the voters have spoken and Hillary Clinton has more votes, and she's earned more pledged delegates by earning more votes, At that point, Jeff Weaver suggested last night that even at that point, the Sanders campaign strategy will still be to get superdelegates to do exactly the opposite of what you just described, to get them to flip and, even though she's got more votes, persuade them to go for Sanders anyway. Does that mean that you and Jeff Weaver have a difference of opinion on this?
No, I think Jeff and I are in the same place. Let me take a minute to talk about those two things, votes and delegates, okay? I think it's really important, and we're trying, and we believe we can, win more pledged delegates to the National Convention than Hillary Clinton when the voting ends. It's going to be a tough process, a hard process, but I think we can get there. Hopefully we'll get all the way there. But I mean, if we come, 4 or 5 delegates short, and we go from being 326 delegates behind on the 15th of March to 2, well, technically she has more delegates. But I think if we get very, very close, or if we're a few ahead, I think that will be very impressive. Now, as to votes, that's another category. I hear the Clinton campaign all the time quoting, they've got, a few weeks ago it was 2.5 million, then it's 2.4 million, then it's 2.3 million after Wisconsin. They'll have a couple thousand more, 100,000 more now after New York. And if every state were a primary and every state voted the way primaries vote, I think the number of votes that counted would be, perhaps a fair and objective measure. But the truth is that many of the states that we use in this process are not primaries. So if you're not going to count a lot of primary states in the count of votes, and one candidate, Bernie Sanders in this case, wins a lot of caucuses as opposed to primaries, is it really fair to say that we should use votes as a measure when, we've won big caucuses? Washington State's a big caucus, Minnesota, Colorado, and we won a lot of smaller states that have caucuses too. Is that really a fair measure? I think the fair measure is pledged delegates, and I think we should look at states too. That's how you elect a president, by winning states. So let's see who's won the states, let's see who's won the delegates, let's see where we are in June, and I think then we'll know what to do.
Tad, is there any circumstance under which it would be inappropriate for a candidate who's behind to try to get the superdelegates to flip? I mean, is there any circumstance in which you, as a senior advisor to the Sanders campaign, should say, you know what, let's stop lobbying the superdelegates, let's fold it up, let's unify the party? I mean, the way that you're describing this and the different variables you're saying at work, it seems to me like a recipe for saying we're never, ever, ever going to stop this campaign no matter what happens.
Well, no, I think, we want to see where we are when the process ends. First of all, Bernie's made a commitment to go through to the end, and I'll tell you why. Because millions of people are part of this campaign. They've contributed to it, literally millions. They've participated in it as volunteers, making phone calls on behalf of the campaign. More than 1 million people have come to events that we've had around the country. So all of those people that have been such a big part of this campaign, he wants to give them an opportunity to vote for him, and we're going to stay in the end to make sure they have that opportunity. Now, when all that's done, I think we have to step back, we have to look at where we are, and he has to make a decision about whether or not we have then a path to victory. Right now, we think we can get there. We think we can win more pledged delegates. We think we can win more states. We think we can prove to the Democratic Party leadership when this process is over that he will, by far, be the strongest candidate in the general election. And if we can make that case and win it, then we would hope the party would endorse him.
Tad Devine, senior advisor for Sanders for president, a man about whom many people speak, but it is an honor to have the chance to talk to you about what you're thinking rather than surmising it. Thanks for your time tonight, sir. I know it's a busy time for you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.